Good morning, welcome back. So we're going to go and do some fishing today for some whiting. I've got an order for some whiting, so we're catching to order now, and I will take you along for the ride. Enjoy. It's a lovely day out there actually. There you go, bit of sunshine on the water, but look at that. Wow. That's us out in the bay now. It's a northwest wind, and it's not actually that nice out here. It's kind of blowing, and we've got white horses, and it is due to come down. So I'm willing to stick it out and we'll give it a go. But unfortunately my autopilot is also packed up, which is rather annoying. So we've got 250 degrees, 260 degrees on there. On our actual compass we're only running on about 60 degrees. So yeah, we'll have to sort that. I mean, I've pulled it out and had a look and played with the wire. I've reset it, but it's not working. So we'll have to recalibrate that later. But for now we're back to the good old manual steering. So yeah, off in the pursuit of whiting. So for equipment for this one, I've got two fairly light rods. They're running with multiplier reels. One of them actually has braid on it. It came with a reel, so I'm still using it. It's actually really nice. It's quite fine. I've only ever used monofill up to this point, but I think I could be a convert to braid actually. So we've got two light rods, and I've rigged both of them with quite long strings of plain white feathers, just white feathers. And what would be ideal would be if we could get a few mackerel, just a couple, and use them as bait on the feathers, because the bait will attract the whiting, and we should be well into our 15 kilos, which is what we're hunting today. But there's not been many mackerel about, so I'm going to have a go with the feathers when I get to my spot for whiting, and hopefully we can coax one or two of them on there, and then maybe I'll have to just use one of them for some bait at the moment, and see if we can get some more like that. So I'm on the autopilot again now. I've managed to fix it. It's a really stupid problem, really stupid of me, but basically down here we have the digital compass for it here, and I've recently bought a couple of these filters, and I'd put them on top of the compass, and the metal in the filters is deviating the compass. Problem solved. So that's the problem solved. Now we're running about 80 odd degrees there. We can see on our other compass it's not too far out now. So we're not too far off where I want to go fishing now, and basically it is going to be a bit rolly. So I'm going to put the starboard side to the wind, because she'll always go broadside to the wind, which is really annoying, but we don't have a staysail on her. I think I'll make one at the next refit, to be honest. So watch this space for a staysail. At the moment I don't have one, so if I put the boat to the starboard side to the wind, I get the easy access side for fishing, and it will protect my my fish finder pinger as well, so it won't be so wavy on the screen. So that would be good, because the pinger's on the opposite side. But yeah, you'll see it will get a bit wavy and rolly, I should imagine, while we're trying to fish for a bit. I think at 1 o'clock it's due to start coming down, and it's 12 o'clock now, so we've kind of got to weather it for another hour or so, and hope that the forecast is correct, really. What's happening here is the wind is pushing us along in a drift, and the tide is actually going the other way. So the lighter weights are riding up in the tide, And so this is me switching weights to a larger weight, which got the feathers right down to the bottom much quicker, and it was holding the feathers near the bottom, which was brilliant because our target species for the day, the whiting, was actually on the bottom. Way straight into a fish, and this felt like a really good fish. It turned out to be foul hooked, but I was very glad of it. It was exactly what I needed. Scad, or horse mackerel. It's an incredibly tough fish.
This is our bait!
It makes quite good bait, but it's not as good as mackerel. And when filleting it, it has a row of almost armour plating on it that makes actually getting a fillet from the fish quite difficult.
Well, mackerel! A nice mackerel! And another scad!
What I'm doing here is turning on the deck wash, which pumps seawater and out through the hose, and I'm going to make an ice slush in the box. The box has ice in it already, and adding some seawater, it turns it into a lovely freezing cold slush, and I can put the fish fresh into the box and they slow down super quick and expire, and that's, to me, probably the most humane way to take the fish and to keep them in immaculate condition. Very useful tool. Baiting the feathers. This is hands down the best way to catch whiting. This is me having to reset up my lines. I'm using the braid, and where a hook is formed as it comes up the shank and then creates an eye and is folded against the shank of the hook, the braid between two of my rod eyes somehow snuck through that little gap and got forced into the eye of the hook, and when I pulled it out it snapped my line. Mackerel have been scarce this year, so I was quite surprised to be catching them the moment I start targeting something else. Nearly lost my hat. Moving the boat back up to the start point for another drift here. This is my last battery, but the fishing's alright. Struggling with the whiting, but we're hitting some good mackerel. Right, watch this. Finally I started getting into the whiting. They started to show up in some pretty big numbers. This is the advantage to rod and line fishing. I can actually release the little ones. Here's a small undersized whiting that I successfully put back in the water. Okay, so you can't hear what I'm saying because it's windy. Basically, catching whiting seems to be really heavy on the gear. These little light feathers, I guess they're mackerel feathers really, they're just getting twisted right up. This was a brand new set. It'd literally done 4 drops and they'd trashed it. It was all spun up and ruined. So straight onto another set really.
We're going to go a little bit bigger now. Try for some bigger ones. Bigger lures. The fish is much bigger. That's a bit better. Bit better.
I really got into these. They were like orange and yellow Muppets.
Yes, look at that. That's way better.
It was just a simple rig with 3 hooks on it. I was baiting them, so they were baited Muppets, and I was jigging them up and down just above the seabed. The whiting were hitting them, the mackerel were hitting them. It was a pretty good rig really.
Better measure this one. Looks a little small. It's actually big enough, but I'm going to put it back anyway. We're catching enough of them, so yeah, that one's gone back now. Oh, that's better.
The rod I'm using here has a really soft tip. It's actually a 20-30 pound class rod, but it's got a lot of flexibility, especially in the very tip of the rod. I actually don't like it. It's a bit too soft. When I first got it, I thought it was great, and it is quite good fun with mackerel feathers in the shallows, but we're fishing in 60 metres of water here, and to feel the fish bite is almost too soft. This setup is also using monofill line, and the reel is an Abu reel and it has a level wind on it, so it's actually quite good at depth because I don't have to worry about where the line goes on the spool. But interestingly, the other rod that's lying on the deck there, that is the one with the braid on it, and that doesn't have level wind, but I didn't find it any problem, and my thumb was automatically spooling the line on evenly as I was bringing it in.
About baiting the feathers. They seem to like it.
Again, baiting the feathers was killer for these whiting. They love it. The smell of the bait attracts them to the feathers, it must do. I think they probably hunt mostly by scent. Fishing in 60 metres, the winding up of fish constantly is a pretty good workout. I normally edit out the winding up of fish from depth. I mean, it's a bit boring, me watching a guy on the deck wind a fishing rod, but I'll let this one play out a little bit longer and you kind of get the idea. Unfortunately, my battery on the GoPro ran out very shortly after this, so I was left fishing without you. But I did manage to catch the 15 kilos of fish that was required, and we got some mackerel to boot, so all in all, a great day's fishing.